Hello, this is part 2 of the continuation for the first letter to the Prime Minister of Australia for the pressures that the low income and poor have to face. Please watch the first part of the letter in PM Let 1 PT 1 of 2. And now the continuation of what I had addressed in concern to the PM. Housing affordability, where is Australia heading to? The rise in interest is not the only thing that's made housing that unaffordable to many Australians. It's also the push away from the affordability bracket for the preference by most builders and developers to build large homes on tiny blocks, all fitted with the latest expensive accessories, and the days of when the affordable home was built seems to have been phased out, since all you hear is about these larger homes built in housing estates, including Forest Lake, Springfield Lakes, for example, or it's the push for apartment living, which again is way out of the price range for many. Many people just want a basic home. It's not necessary to have ducted air conditioning, heating, dishwasher and climate control, dedicated cable TV and internet wall outlets, etc. What's wrong with the basic house built from around 1900 to 1980s? Even a house in the 60s can still have internet through a phone line, etc. You never hear of these basic homes being built anymore. These newer homes that have tiny backyards leave no room for a shed or workshop, just as any request from council may be overturned due to the size of the house as per the land. So this would mean that it leaves no room for a hobby like model making or wood carpentry, for example. Not too long ago there was a story I heard where a family that had been trying to keep their home had been forced to downgrade their food to rice only in order to still afford their home. And one of the comments in the article that was made said that they should just give up the house and rent instead, which was a heartless comment. Then there is one recently from Perth where some workers are actually living on the street since they cannot afford a place to rent. That there means something really is wrong with the system. Housing and even rentals going out of reach for many people, even for workers. That does not make sense. This just makes me wonder what's going to be 5 years, 10 years time at this rate. I guess there's going to be more poor living on the street, including families. We were known as the lucky country. What's happening to Australia? What happened to the affordable basic home? Understanding the people and the pressure issues in today's world. Recognition of the troubles the low income and the poor have to face. This is something, or call it an idea, that I have had, though it is something that I know many other people probably have had, even though there have been a couple of events made to demonstrate the problem and how it affects the poor and low-income earners. One of those events was the work for a day as a typical worker by many government ministers and associated leaders. The purpose was to experience firsthand what it's like for the average worker in a day. The second event recently was for industry leaders to spend a night under the stars as per how the poor have to sleep, provided with the same necessities as the average poor that has to endure each night that way. However, that only helps to illustrate only a slice of the issue. Another test would be if some of these industry leaders, or in particular any government members, would, as a test and to better understand the people, to take a week or even a month living with a set amount as per the average worker and the low income earner, and see if they can survive without all the big luxuries for that time period. Then they could better understand what it's like to be living with a low income to survive. recognise the troubles, and think of ways to help the less fortunate. It will be an interesting exercise, call it a bet, if you will. But it would, in a way, help understand what the low-income earner has to face each week and or each month. Deduct each amount as per if it were a bill or food expenses, and at the end of it, should better understand the struggles to make ends meet. The health and welfare of the low income and the poor who are struggling under these pressures. All this and more are gradually putting more of a strain on these people, not only financially, but also creating more worry and concern for their confidence. It is eating up people's confidence as the most affected have begun to resort to cutting back on even some necessities, including heaters or basic health foods, since they have risen a fair bit in the last years. Yes, that one partially had resulted from the disasters up north, but assorted taxes and rates have also contributed largely. Many pensioners should be included in this bracket as well, and when summer comes around, there could be more going without air conditioning and fans, hoping to save cost on bills, yet pass out from heat stroke, like you hear during each summer. But only now the numbers may be a lot more, as they may be scared to accumulate a larger bill than they could afford. We've seen this happen time after time, as these people that think they may be saving may instead suffer from heat, or at the moment from the cold. People's health tends to suffer in this way, and many don't have private health insurance. That includes me as well, simply because we cannot afford the high fees on top of everything else, and so now only rely on Medicare only if needed, when needed. This pressure can cause anxiety, loss of confidence, hopelessness, and depression, to name a few. Hopelessness and confidence relate to where these people who feel this when they only just manage to cover the bill, but find no way to get beyond it. Unfortunately, some have resorted to suicide because they feel so overwhelmed with this and may see no way around this issue without any outside help. They will also feel forgotten and feel that no matter what they do, it won't make a difference to improve how they are living. The health and welfare of these people must be watched and helped. It's also not that easy to look for a new job due to many factors that are around requested in today's world. Employment prospects and mandatory requirements by employers today. This is an area that's causing a lot of heartache for a job seeker, especially when Centrelink or any network members don't understand or don't realise this problem. It relates to mandatory requirements set by most employers in job ads for required experience and or required qualifications. Qualifications that for many require training that must be acquired through a high-cost institution like a university. Some, depending, may still be high in cost, even through TAFE. Then another problem that faces job seekers is the industry experience that most employers now request for. How can someone gain industry experience when they cannot find a place to even begin at? That includes people that had completed a course. In order to get industry experience, you must have begun somewhere at least. Many employers won't accept a TAFE graduate when they request for industry experience, which unfortunately as has been most. There used to be the old idea of on-the-job training. This has generally disappeared, and now employers are more particular with their requirements, that it has made it hard to find a job these days. And with the rising cost of course fees, many potentials have not been able to afford or wish to be holding a loan debt in order to do a course, let alone to survive during a course can be difficult for some. There are many people that have skills that would, for anyone that knew them, may wonder why these ones are not snapped up by any company. And the sad fact, though, is that employers won't be willing to see and entrust a new person unless they have it written on their resume that they have trained for these skills and hold a diploma, certificate, or major in the field. Own training and home-learnt skills won't make a difference. That includes me for what I can do, and I have heard several in the past, even another yesterday, said I could earn more doing what I do in many other places. But I know that without that qualification gained through a TAFE, university, etc., that it means nothing to an employer. And that was one of the issues I had when I was unemployed for those horrible, long, depressing 7 years. Is there any chance or way to encourage employers to take a chance and help give people a go, or encourage some on-the-job training? In conclusion to this, I would hope that after reading this, that some thought would be put towards helping the less fortunate low-income earner and poor, so the struggle is not increased too much that would send more low-income earners broke and in the end be left poor. I could have added more, however. I do not wish to keep you too long, as I know you are very busy. Thank you for reading what I have written here, and please give this a thought and help Australia. Help one people cope without putting more pressure to the ones that are more vulnerable.